Hello, George was the cat here, aka Neko per million or Nico per, and it's going to be a follow-up to my last video on female characters in video games. And for those who want a short of it, I was basically talking about how I see a decline in games released with female characters, or to be more precise, playable female characters, including female protagonists. Now, one of the statements I made in that video was that I can easily find hundreds of games from before 2015 where there were a lot of games with female protagonists. And not just female protagonists, just games in general, playable female characters that were actually, well, I can't say good because, in all honesty, good is more subjective, but interesting. And the thing is that I had a hard time actually proving that statement last time. See, I went to about providing links, figured that, oh, it'll be easy. 3 hours later, and middle of the middle of the middle of the night, kind of early morning, I was finding it very difficult. I was finding, as I said in my video on the fractures within the gaming community and why what I see as a divide in among gamers, I briefly said that there were interlopers who came in. And some of these interlopers decided to take advantage of the situation. Um, okay, I think I should probably start from the beginning, but I'll be quick about it. See, in the 90s, there were sex games released. People got bothered with that. And then Tomb Raider came out. And although people didn't argue over it, there were some people who discussed the subject of sexism in gaming. Someone even actually wrote a paper on it in 1998. If I can find the links to that paper, to a copy of that paper, I will provide it in the description of this video and the previous video. And so from there, like there were discussions, but only some people discussed it. Not it wasn't a common subject of discussion. And some people didn't even care so much because there were more and more games being released that had interesting female characters to them. Some of which are beloved by many, such as Shantae, for example. And not just Shantae, Faith of Mirror's Edge, and a lot of other characters. I can name more, but I don't want this to be that kind of video. Bad enough my previous video was. But yes, at some point, it went from a discussion from a few people to, figuratively speaking, many people writing over this. And I say figuratively because people didn't actually write, but a lot of people were arguing. A lot of people were raging, making accusations against others. Now, while some people will be quick to say that it's Anita Sarkeesian that started this, no, Anita Sarkeesian did not start this. However, I do admit that the argument did reach a boiling point with the release of Trolls vs. Women in Games. But again, I'm not going to blame it on Anita Sarkeesian. The thing that really started the argument, well, as far as I'm aware, is the infamous crossplay controversy. I think the event was called Crossplay. But basically, long story short, a guy decided to be sleazy and sexist. And like many people, myself included, referred to his actions as harassment. And although some people said that no, it's not sexual harassment, they still admitted that he did invade a woman's personal space and he was generally creepy. Um, I'll link to the description of that as in the description as well on that if I can find the article. But yes, people got angry because of this guy's behavior. I think the name Aries Boctasian. I could be wrong. I'll annotate if I am wrong. But but it still stands. Controversy happened, the sexism happened, and people argued and raged. And when Anita's video came out, the argument hit a boiling point. And then came the interlopers that I mentioned in the fracturing of gaming. See, because Anita Sarkeesian's YouTube channel is titled Feminist Frequency, a lot of people who were anti-feminist but didn't care about video games to begin with decided to be like, hey brother, I'm gonna come in and help you out. And whereas the rest of us are like, please, no, we don't need you. You've never helped us to begin with. You're just a hindrance. Go away, get lost. Like, I actually did say something along those lines. Well, typed out something along those lines once because I was seeing this happening. It was like, we don't need you and your anti-feminist rhetoric. We don't want your anti-feminist rhetoric. But a lot of people came in with their agendas and things just escalated from there. So, what does this have to do with me having a hard time actually finding links? A lot of people took advantage. A lot of people took advantage of this argument. So even when it came to the harassment, and yes, I do agree that Anita Sarkeesian was harassed, just not by the same people that everyone assumes she was harassed by. But yes, people even took advantage of Anita Sarkeesian's harassment and decided to run with it. And what winds up happening is clickbait. Lots and lots and lots of clickbait. And the sad thing is, I tried to find my sources. Like, it was easy. I would admit it was really easy, even in 2014. But I don't know if search engines just changed how they did things or whatever. Oh yeah, that's right. There was actually talk in mid to late 2014, I think it is, where like Google searches and Bing were changing their search criteria, which I thought was great and all until last night. 3 hours I spent, and I didn't even have 10 different links to support my statement of there being hundreds of games with female protagonists. I mean, granted, I did present links that supplied thousands, but I figured I could find more links. You know, something that people can cross-reference and check for themselves. So if someone wanted to dispute my facts, they would have plenty of sources to go over of what I was going off of. But the thing is that I couldn't do it very easily. I had great difficulty because of the clickbait. For example, one thing was here's a interesting in the best games with female protagonists. I was like, okay, maybe this will help. And then all it was is much like what happened with the anti-feminists coming in. Someone saying, we have an interest in the subject of female characters, female representation in games. But first off, let's talk about our sites and see if you want to join in. It's like, oh, why? And this was the common thing, the clickbait. Like I even tweeted last night. I will admit, I never tweet in frustration. Okay, I can't say never because there's been times I try to avoid doing that, but last night I did tweet about that. My frustration over the constant clickbait. That's all it is. Like, I'm surprised I even managed to find as many links as I did. Like, with all the clickbait, but it got me thinking. Maybe this is probably not only the reason why I'm not finding that many games with with interesting or even awesome female protagonists released in 2015. Maybe this is why other people had trouble finding games with female protagonists before 2015. Because just like me, they probably found a lot of this clickbait. I mean, granted, there's also the same old list that always include the same old top five that would include Ellie and Clementine and Faith and Bioshock's Elizabeth. I make a point in saying Bioshock's Elizabeth because very rarely does any other character named Elizabeth in a video game. No, yeah, very rarely does any other character named Elizabeth get any mention from video games. Like, I found one video where a woman named Elizabeth was in a video game. And it was an X-Men game. And before anyone asks, uh, yes, if you knew anything about X-Men, they had their real names, such as how you have Wolverine, whose real name is Logan. With Elizabeth, her name in X-Men goes by Psylocke. Unfortunately, someone actually made mention of Psylocke being awesome and very well proportioned for in regards to woman with muscles, which is a lot better than the sexualized crap I at times come across whenever I go looking up my favorite shippings. But oh my goodness, same old list. Oh, like that was. It's awesome to find one person would make mention of a character named Elizabeth in a game other than Bioshock. Like hardly anyone even talks about the Elizabeth from Persona, except for Persona fans or anyone who's at least familiar with the Megami Tensei series. But when it came down to it, I was trying to find sources. I want to provide more sources, so if someone wants to debunk what I said, they can at least go through the kinds of lists that I know of, the games I mentioned, and compare and contrast. Because I don't mind disagreements if we can discuss them, as long as we're not arguing over petty semantics. But oh my god, this clickbait, it drives me nuts. And maybe that's the main reason why, not main reason, but maybe that's a major contributor as to why people have a hard time finding good representation of female characters in games. Maybe it's why I couldn't find good representation of female characters released in 2015, despite the fact that there's people saying that there's more than ever. I'm seeing less, and who knows? Maybe it's because, like last night, I was running into clickbait. You know, a lot of other people were probably having the same problem. Clickbait. You know, people who don't care about the hobby but decided to take advantage of this argument. Take advantage of the sexism that happened. Take advantage of the harassment that happened. And just say, hey, we know there's harassment and let's talk about it, but first, join us. That's a whole lot of interlopers who, honestly, I just want to. Yeah, I'm just rambling now. But yes, this is my first follow up. Anyone who want to share, go for it. And who knows, maybe some people will share maybe some people will say the same thing, you know, that they kept finding the same thing I did. Bunch of clickbait that interrupted in finding games that have interesting female characters, or even games that you would prefer playing. But that's it. That's my video. And I thank you for watching. Yeah, George Wesley Cat, aka Nickel Vermillion, Nico if you prefer. Thank you for watching.